Okay, welcome back. In this portion of our Nourishing Your Athlete video, we are going to be talking about the timetable for optimal performance. Make sure that you utilize this information throughout the season. So I would print it out, have it handy. There's really useful information in here that will help optimize your performance just as kind of the table lays out. So if we're talking about 2 to 3 hours before game or your pregame meal, a lot of people will ask, well, I play at 8 a.m. What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to wake up super early to have that pregame meal? No, just make sure that you're having your pregame meal the night before and doing the best you can to break it out 50% healthy fats, 35% fruit and vegetable, 10% protein, and 5% healthy fat. So if you think of it simply as looking at a plate, half of that plate should be healthy carbs. 35% of that plate should be your fruit and vegetable, 10% of that protein, and then again, 5% of that healthy fat. So it's really important that if you do play in the afternoon, for example, that you're not having, let's say you play at 3 and at noon you have a super heavy, extravagant meal. That's not going to be extraordinarily helpful. So make sure that this pregame meal is not a stuff yourself meal. That's going to be challenging to feel well while you're playing. If we move to bubble number 2, 1 to 2 hours before your game, you might have a snack. So this would be fresh fruit, a drink of water, eat lightly. This will help with energy. So that's 1 to 2 hours before your game. Have a snack. And then the hour within your game, likely you're not going to be eating anything. You don't want your blood supply to be moving towards your gut, and therefore your oxygen moving towards your gut. The focus be on digestion. You want the focus to be oxygen moving to your muscles, not to your gut for digestion. So just drink water within that hour time frame. Bubble 4 would be game time. Most athletes are going to have no issue at all getting through a match without having any type of sustenance or eating. That should be just fine to not eat anything during a match. It would be relatively unusual. However, if you are an athlete that tends to not be able to maintain a steady blood sugar for whatever reason, it doesn't have to be due to pre-diabetic or diabetic. Some people just really struggle with their blood sugar. So that might be a time where you make sure that you have some grapes in a baggie or something similar. Again, this is very uncommon and very unusual and typically not necessary at all. But just make sure that you know yourself, you know what your needs are, and you are ready to go during game time. I do recommend, I have a lot of athletes when I coach, we'll have our timeouts and they'll be like, I don't need water. Always drink water, even if you feel like you don't need it. Okay, it's really important to make sure that you're sipping on water throughout competition, throughout practice time when we have water breaks. There's always an opportunity to hydrate, and you want to take every opportunity you get to do so, even if you're not feeling thirsty. So make sure that you're drinking at every timeout, every opportunity in practice. Okay, so this might be one of the most important time frames, and that's after your game. This is your glycogen window. You need to make sure that you are planning properly to make sure that you hit that glycogen window. And that's important because you are loading energy back in to your muscles. So this is where recovery happens. Repair and recovery happens in bubble number 5, post game. So make sure that you are having a 4-to-1 ratio, 4 carbs to 1 protein. Again, if you're looking at a plate and you portion that out, make sure that you have 4-to-1, 4 carbs, 1 protein. And you should be drinking 2 liters of water over several hours. Okay, so we need to make sure that we're planning. This is why most people don't hit that glycogen window, is because they have not planned properly for a post-game meal. So let's say you end your competition at 9 p.m. and everything is closed, or the only thing that is open is McDonald's. Again, I'm not saying McDonald's, maybe I am. I wouldn't recommend McDonald's. That could be a treat if that's what you choose, but I wouldn't recommend it as a post-game meal because that is really unhealthy fats that's going to be challenging to repair from. So if that's your only option is McDonald's because you haven't planned properly, you need to make sure that you're planning properly. So some good options would be a 1/4 cup nut butter with a 3/4 cup apple would be a really good example. Again, those quantities you can play around with, but an apple with nut butter would be really great. Or banana slices, Greek yogurt with berries and granola, also a really good option. But you need to make sure that you're hitting that glycogen window so that you can pump glycogen back into your muscles so that when you turn around for day 2, you're able to come back and perform well. If you don't eat afterwards, you are going to struggle hard the next day. Okay. You're also going to be shredding muscles that you're going to be challenged to then repair later. If you miss that hour time frame, you reduce your ability to, you reduce the opportunity by 50% to get glycogen back in that muscle. Okay, so make sure that you're planning properly. You know what you're going to eat after practice. You know what you're going to eat after ETS. You know what you're going to eat after competition. Okay, your glycogen window is really important. The last thing that I'll point out here on the sheet is chewing. We as humans speed through our days, speed through our activities, do so many things without mindfulness that I really want to pull you back into the opportunity of chewing. So I would highly encourage anytime that you're eating that you are setting your phone aside. You do not have your phone in front of you. You are present, you are eating, you are connecting with your food, and you are chewing. It is the first part of your digestion is the actual mechanical chewing and the enzymes that are in your mouth that help break down food. If we're not aware of what we're doing, we typically are not going to chew well. And those enzymes that are activated by just the thought of eating do not effectively work. So phones aside, when we're eating, we are going to be present, mindful, and chew our food because again, it is a very important part of our digestive process. So make sure that you are chewing well. Okay, so the next portion of our video, I'm actually not going to talk too much about the pH chart in our video. I'm going to do that right now, just so it's not something that we need to talk about in a full video. It is informative, and what I like to point out is that we all know that neutral pH is similar to tap water. We want our body to be at neutral. And the way you can test that is simply by getting pH test strips. I get them at Fresh and Natural here in Hudson. And I like to just have them on hand to test where my body is at throughout the day. Examples would be if I'm not feeling well or if I'm achy, I might have my test strips out and I might test morning, noon, before bed, just to see where my pH is throughout the day. It's always going to fluctuate based on what I eat, based on what I think, based on what I do. Okay, so your pH fluctuates all day long. If you are eating something that is in the really acidic category, and there are healthy foods that are in the acidic category, you are going to notice that your pH is going to be pulled more acidic. If you are eating things that are highly alkaline, you are going to notice that your body probably is being pulled more into the alkaline category. Our body, again, tends to want to be at a neutral pH. So it is going to work hard to stay there. I'd like to point out this chart for a couple of reasons. Is because if we are always eating in the acidic categories and not balancing with alkaline, we're going to stay acidic, but our body is going to work really hard to get us back to this neutral pH. And how it does that is by pulling nutrients out of our bones. So if you are somebody that tends to be really chronic with injuries or fractures, things that just aren't quite healing, it's probably because your body tends to be acidic. Our bodies, again, want to be neutral. Some tend to be a little more acidic than others naturally, or more alkaline naturally. We're all different as to where we lie on this chart. However, again, our body is really intuitive, so it wants us to get to more neutral, and it'll pull, again, nutrients out of our bones in order to get there, again, leading to injury. So I'd like to point that out for that reason. Something else I like to point out here is, I think it's on this sheet, is one of the most acidic foods besides colas would be worry. And I just find that to be something that is extremely important to point out, because as much as we might want to just focus on our foods as a part of our wellness, again, this goes back to our primary and secondary foods. If we do not work to find tools to manage our worry, our stress, our anxieties, we're going to be battling against being acidic all the time. And very simply put, when you're acidic, you are more prone to dis-ease. So disease or dis-ease. So again, this is really important to have that awareness of. This chart isn't be all and end all. If you were to Google another pH chart, you might find an orange is down in the more acidic area. It's not the be all and end all of charts. It's an example of one, but it's important to point out, because if we're acidic, we're going to tend to have injuries. So we need to make sure we're balancing that. Again, pH strips will make sure to give you an idea of where you're falling in when, but just because you do it once during the day doesn't mean, oh, great, I am at neutral pH and that must just be where I'm at. Nope. If I eat or drink a cola, I'm going to be pulled down way into the acidic category. And all you have to do is just spit on a pH strip and just gauge it as to kind of the, what would the back of the bottle will give you kind of the legend of where you're falling. So that is just the pH chart, alkalinity, acidity, and kind of why that's important for you. Let's see what else we have. Well, actually, that is about all we have. The last item that I'm going to link to the login area of our website is a list of 40 snacks for on the go. That's a big question that I get often. Let's see if I have it. I do have it pulled up here. So I will link this so you have it as an example in the login area of the website. Again, it might give you some ideas as to things you can mix and match for options, but this will be a helpful resource for you as well. Okay, so if you have questions, you can shoot me an email, shoot me a text, give me a ring. Let me know if there's something I can help explain further or give you more information about. I am here to support you guys through the process. Your athlete is welcome to reach out to me as well. I hope to chat with you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.